That car you're not using anymore could help fund audiobooks, Braille, and accessible library services across Washington. Donate it to the Washington Talking Book and Braille Library. Pickup is free. Go to careasy.org/WTBBL.
Hello and welcome to Literary Notes, a podcast by the Washington Talking Book and Braille Library. I'm your producer, Nathan Ureta. As an immigrant, Andrea Pons lived a life centered around her family. She spent her childhood hanging out with cousins and eating the delicious food her grandma would cook. When her family was facing challenges with the immigration system here in the U.S., she knew what she had to do. Equipped with her grandma's recipes and her creative know-how, Pons created a cookbook to help pay for her parents' legal fees. This book would eventually become Mamacita, Recipes Celebrating Life as a Mexican Immigrant in America. Library volunteer Margarita Muñoz, who narrated the book for our collection, sits down with her to talk about the fascinating story behind the cookbook. She also made conchas, lightly sweet pastries, as per Mamacita's recipe, and brought them to the interview. I gotta say, it was a pretty good day to be in the studio. Anyway, here's the conversation.
Hi, everyone who's listening to our conversation today. I'm Margarita Muñoz, a volunteer at the Washington Talking Book and Braille Library, and I have the pleasure of interviewing Andrea Pons, the author of a fabulous and beautiful cookbook that's more like a memoir, as far as I'm concerned. The title is Mamacita, and I'm hoping that I get to learn a whole lot more about Andrea.
Thank you so much, Margarita. It's honestly such a pleasure and an honor to be here. And I really want to start with gratitude for this library, for a service like a talking library that's accessible to most people. And also want to thank you. I need to set the scene for the people listening. The fact that I am sitting here and Margarita made the conchas from my cookbook. So she's really bringing out the child in me. We're sipping chocolate abuelita, which for those of you that don't know is like the Mexican hot chocolate. And I'm eating one of her conchas, and this is like my ideal lunch situation, honestly. So, Margarita, muchísimas gracias for
you
taking the time.
You are too kind, and you're very, very welcome. It was a pleasure, and I will try it again.
Please.
So I'd like to know, there's so many questions I had as I was narrating the book. And I'd have to tell you, every time I did a session, I went home hungry.
That's the best compliment.
Oh, my goodness. And I love the stories that you had on each and every recipe and all the photographs. So can you tell me a little bit of how you decided to make this project?
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting because, and again, I was getting a little bit emotional before we started recording, just how overwhelming it is to be here sitting with you and having this opportunity. Because when I first started writing these recipes, I never imagined that Mamacita would be a published work. It really started because my grandmother, who I'm really beholden to, was diagnosed with Alzheimer's now 15 years ago. And at the time that I started writing the book, this was 2018, it was when her memory was really starting to heavily decline. So I no longer could call her and ask her, I call my abuelita, my grandma, I call her titita.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't call titita and say oh yeah, titita, I don't remember how to make this or how much nuez do you add to this cake? I couldn't do that. And I was feeling really homesick. I was living on my own for the first time in my life. I've always had roommates, or I had a boyfriend I was living with, or a partner, or my parents, and I was living in an apartment by myself. Mm. And so what I was really craving was Mexican food.
Yes,
I was craving a piece of home. And so my mom gifted me this little libreta. It's literally like a notebook that's this thin. And it was my grandma's recipe book. It's not a cookbook. It's truly her recipe book. It's burnt. There's grease marks all over it. She clearly had this next to her
stove. I love
stove.
The picture you had in the book.
Yes.
So sweet.
And, I'm treating it like it's the most delicate artifact, because it really is. And I started to recreate those recipes, rewrite them, because again, I'm trying to interpret what she's writing here. Like sometimes the recipes had like missing ingredients that she would like never mention until you're like halfway through the recipe, and then you're like, híjole, like what do you mean I need this? Like I'm in the middle of the kitchen like cooking, and now I need to go out and get this ingredient. So I was like, what if I take these recipes and I make them cohesive, and I actually write a little recipe book that I can give to my sister, that I can give to my cousins, and we can keep Titita's legacy going, even though her memory is gone.
Idea.
And that's how it all started. And then, as life often does, it took a major turn. I was writing the recipes for about 2 years, is how long it took me to, test them out.
Yes.
And going over to my parents' house and quite literally forcing my mom to use measuring spoons because, she cooks just like my grandma. So like when she would say
a little
un chorrito, a little splash, and I'm like, what's a little splash? And she'd be like, ay, mija, a little splash. Like, I don't know what that means.
I can imagine that conversation.
Oh yeah, totally. And like, when she would call for a cup, she doesn't mean a measuring cup. She means like her favorite mug, that is in her counter. And that's her measuring cup. And I'm like, okay, well, how many like ounces is that cup or whatever? But that's really how this all started. It was just a love project.
Amazing. Well, it's a beautiful project, and I just love if anyone who purchases the book will really be fascinated not only by the stories, but the photographs are so wonderful. And I noticed there's different photographers for various photographs. And I wondered, how did you decide who to employ to do that?
Definitely. Well, if I fast track to why Mamacita exists for all of us and not just for my family, is that in 2020, after living in the U.S. for 16 years, I was brought into the country as a 10-year-old girl, going through immigration process. Immigration's laws often change without the people who are going through the process knowledge. Just what ended up happening to me. So in the middle of my renewal of my green card, it expired, and then laws changed. So instead of getting my 10-year green card, which I was waiting for, I received a letter of deportation in June of 2020.
That's scary.
Margarita, I don't think I've ever been more uncertain and terrified for what's to come. Because I've built a life here since I was 10 years old. I have work here, I have friends here, I have my community, my life, and my parents here. And I thought, if I'm going to get deported, are my parents going to get deported? Is my sister going to get deported? Are they just going to deport us all?
What a burden.
And I just didn't even want to think about it. And like I thought that if I thought about it, it would become real. So I told no one. I told my parents, my boyfriend, in my work at the time, and I told no one else. And this is where my story is not unique in the sense that a lot of migrant families face the same thing. But I have a privilege, which is the fact that I had a savings account and I had a community to back me so I could hire an attorney, which is a privilege that not most immigrants have. I ended up honestly begging and borrowing to come up with 10 grand, which is how much it cost me to hire my attorney and reprocess all of my paperwork to try to salvage the life that my parents chose for me here and that I since then had built here as a, teenager and adult. And it was really scary. It was really traumatic. The world was shut down as well. There was like so many things happening at this time. And after 3 months of resubmitting paperwork, I got invited to come take my citizenship test in November of 2020, a week after elections. And I remember it was a cloudy day like it is today, like you feel the heaviness of I don't know if it was just, I was imagining heaviness from how I was feeling, or like the actual environment was like very cloudy and gloomy and you feel the pressure of the humidity on your body.
Yes.
And I walk into the USCIS offices with my attorney, Diego, who is 75 years old. We are in pandemic times. He's not allowed in the room. He's not allowed to even sit down outside the room. So this man is standing for 2 hours on the doorway while I'm doing my interview.
Oh, my goodness.
And it was wild.
Exhausting.
I was like, can we please give him a chair? And they're like, no chairs in the hallway. And I'm like, what is going on? But it was insane because it was 16 years, 2 hours, and then the 15 minutes that it took to print my citizenship, my, certificate. And it's a piece of paper like any piece of paper. You can go to your printer and take out a piece of paper. That's exactly what it feels like.
And that was it.
And that's it. That's the key to finally feeling like all of my parents' efforts had a worthwhile result. And
I feel goosebumps right now just hearing that and just imagining how scary that was for you.
Yeah.
And so many people now in this atmosphere that we're living in are experiencing that and not even being threatened by going back to their country, but to a
different country.
Another country.
Entirely. And it felt like that for me where I'm like, surely I have family in Mexico, but Mexico feels like a foreign place to me.
Of course.
I don't know how to navigate myself the way that I've learned to navigate myself in the United States, which is home to me and has been home now longer than the time I spent growing up in Mexico.
Right.
And right then and there in the parking lot of the USCIS offices, I knew I wanted to sponsor my parents because by this point in our lives, we had lost my dad's father, my tito, and my family couldn't travel to Mexico to grieve him. And witnessing how that affected my dad broke me. And I could not imagine a world in which my mom did not get to see her mother again, ever, after growing up with a single mother.
Yes.
I was like, that's not going to happen on my watch. And it's kind of delusional, really, because I have no control over that. But I'm like, I will be relentless in my pursuit of making sure that my mom and my grandmother get to see each other again.
Such persistence and such love demonstrated there.
It just felt like my duty. Like, I'm like, I have to do this. And I feel very, very grateful and fortunate because obviously when I was like, Papi, meet Diego, my attorney, I'm going to sponsor, like, literally the day I got my certificate, I was in the parking lot and I'm like, okay, great, let's sponsor my parents. Like, how do we get, totally like logistics driven. I'm like, how do we get them on the process?
Or you go from that long court ordeal to, okay, let's move on.
Let's go. It's like this like pack mentality where it's like, it's not like, I don't feel good unless my whole family's safe. And my dad's like, chiquilla, like, how are we we don't have $20,000. Like that's really great that you want to do this, but like we can't afford it. And I looked at Diego and I said, Diego, if we pay you monthly, will you help my parents? And he said yes. And so right there in the car, I thought, okay, what can I do? I have all these recipes. I know. I'm going to publish this book. I'm going to self-publish this book. I'm a food stylist by trade. To go back to your question, I have all these photographer friends in my network. I am going to reach out to my community and say, this is what's going on. I'm trying to sponsor my family. I have all these recipes ready. If I send you a recipe, will you not just photograph it? These friends, these amazing humans who contributed to Mamacita, made the food themselves.
Oh.
If I send you the recipe, will you make, because again, we're in the pandemic, so I can't see them. If I send you the recipe, will you make it? And will you photograph it? And your name will be in this published work. I will
Such a
publish
beautiful
this work.
Story.
And it's
you didn't include that story in
I
the
did not.
book.
And I actually haven't
that's
really
bringing tears to my eyes.
haven't really talked about the fact that like a big part of the genuineness of this collaboration is that I have no control. And again, I'm a food stylist, so my job is to make sure that the food looks perfect when it's going to go into any kind of media. And I'm releasing all of that control and just trusting my friends, but also really honoring that, like, however it turns out, it's how it's going to turn out in someone's home. And that's how it's going to be photographed.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a beautiful story. Going back to before you came here, when you were a child, will you tell us about that journey?
Oh, man, my childhood. This is where I cry. It was the best, I can say that with like all heart and honesty, best childhood I could have ever had. No me faltó nada is the way of saying like there was nothing missing, nothing that I was missing. I quite honestly had a very privileged life. You know, my neighbors were my family. Like we lived in a neighborhood where my grandpa, my dad's dad, who made his wealth as a banker, bought all these little homes. So then when his children got married, each child got a home. So then he built a neighborhood of his own family.
Yeah.
So it was very common in my upbringing to be dropped off at my neighbor's home, which is my aunt's home, because my mom's going to go grocery shopping. Or like I'm going to walk to my primo's house and I'm going to go eat dinner there, or I'm going to go spend the night at my grandparents' house. Like I was just constantly around family, constantly around them, going to school with them. You know, my cousin Claudia was my best friend. And what's funny is we didn't know we were related until we started hanging out in school, because she visited our grandparents on Sundays and I visited our grandparents on Saturdays. So we like hadn't crossed paths. It sounds weird given the fact that we lived in the same neighborhood, but like once we connected, we were just like instant besties, and I still like adore her.
Is she still in Mexico?
She is, yeah. Last time I saw her, she was living in Cancun, and I went to visit her for a week, and it was just so awesome to like spend that time together again.
Yes.
But you know, that was like my world was essentially, it was very family driven. And when we moved to the U.S., I think that was the most stark difference. That it went from, I see my family every day, and I'm not just talking about my parents and my sister. I'm talking all of my extended family.
The whole neighborhood.
That's what we do on the weekends. We spend time with each other. That's what we do in the evenings. That's what we do. Like we're just constantly in each other's lives. To being plucked away from that, and then just having my parents and my sister as my only frame of reference for like anything, how the world works. And it really empowered us to like move as a unit. Like I'm very close to my parents and I'm very close to my sister, because for a while it was like us, and I don't want to say like against the world, but it was like us in this new world.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everything was so new.
Yeah.
You know, I'm feeling emotional because when you describe your neighborhood, I was raised in Southern California.
Yeah.
You know, a whole generation before you.
Yeah.
And my father bought our house when he was 17.
Wow.
He bought his first house when he was 14.
Oh my gosh.
He was a farm worker for many, many years.
Yeah.
But you know, he was very frugal, and he took care of his family because his family moved into those houses.
Yeah.
Until he got married. And so we lived on the corner house. My aunt and uncle lived the other corner down the street.
Yeah.
I had another aunt and uncle living across the street. Another was living on the another corner of the street, same street.
Yes.
And then my abuelita, my grandma, was living across the street, down the street from him, and next door was a little tiendita, a little store.
Yes.
And so when I read about your grandma's bakery, I thought, oh my gosh, it was, you know, Señor Vicente, and it was. And we would we would get together every Sunday underneath her tree, and just every Sunday we would just, all of us, you know, as children, we would play, all the adults, and it was. So when you're telling me this, I think, oh my gosh, it was just something very special.
I think I love hearing how similar, even though entirely, you know, like so different, right? But like you shared with me that your abuelita is from León,
Yes.
Guanajuato, which is where I'm from.
Yes.
And so it's just like this connection of like, this is how the family systems work in our culture dynamics. Is very much like, I don't know how you feel, how you sense it, but the way that I always sensed it is that like, we're tight-knit, we're here to support each other, but there's also this sense of like independence and unattachment. We're like, we are beholden to each other, but there's no control. I never felt this type of like family control over like where people could live or move or do, but it was more so like choice.
Yes.
To stay together.
It's organically.
Yeah. Choice to
happened.
like raise the children together and be in each other's orbits and support each other. And it's kind of like this village. You know, you build your own little village.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a question for you.
Yes.
Tortillas. Corn or harina? Harina
I took a bite of concha. Okay. My response is, if you're asking me my favorite, is always going to be corn. But if you're asking me for a specific dish, I might change my opinion, right? For example, tortillas de harina para sincronizadas, which is like, it's like a quesadilla that you add ham to, and then you can add other toppings to it. And now it's not just a quesadilla, now it's a sincronizada. That I prefer with tortillas de harina or wheat, but like corn all the way.
Yes.
Yeah, especially fresh corn tortillas. I can just like eat them, like nothing on them, just like roll them up and like chew on them.
And did your family make them at home?
We did not actually, but we had a tiendita in the corner, and it was my responsibility as a kid to come home from school. We would get picked up from school. We would walk home, and then I would change out of my school uniform, and then I would go back out on the street and walk to the tiendita and buy tortillas for dinner, and then I would come home. And I would always eat like a minimum 2 on the way home.
How can you just eat one?
You can't, no. And I would just like roll them up and like, I don't know why I thought in my head that I would get in trouble if my mom found out, which I don't think I would have ever gotten in trouble, but I felt like I was doing something kind of sneaky, and I would like be quick at eating them, you know? I would be like really fast at like
so funny.
chewing them.
Because my mother always made wheat.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
We didn't eat corn unless we were having a taco.
Okay.
You know, that was fried.
Yeah.
And it was so funny when you have that chapter where you said there's no tacos.
No tacos. No. Yes.
I loved it. I could relate to it so much. But, you know, every other day she would make a stack of tortillas. And, oh, my gosh, they're so delicious coming right off the burner. And my father always said, you know, a meal isn't complete unless you have tortillas and frijoles.
Sí. It's true. It's true. And they're both like such, I mean, they're pillars of like the Mexican cuisine. And like, as I, you know, shared in the book, I didn't want to have any taco recipes. Many reasons behind that. One is like reframing the way people think about Mexican cuisine. And like, you know, you ask people like Mexican cuisine and they immediately say tacos. And that's great. But tacos are such a small part. You know, tacos is what we have during like cena. It's what we eat after like we go out at night. It's like, we live in Seattle, so like a Seattle dog, right? It's like, when do you eat a Seattle dog? You're not eating Seattle dogs for dinner.
All the time. That's
all
right.
the time. You're not eating a Seattle dog for lunch all the time. You're eating a Seattle dog at night after a soccer game or whatever. And that's when tacos come into play. Tacos are a nighttime food after 8 p.m. But everything can be a taco. So, yes, we do eat tortillas from sunrise to sundown because they're a vessel to get whatever is in your plate into your mouth.
It's such a great invention. It's like a cone, like an ice cream cone.
Yes, exactly.
It's like right there.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, beans.
Okay.
Black or pinto?
Black. Yeah. Y me gustan de olla. Like I like
just boiled.
Yeah, boiled. They're kind of like in this, you know, maybe it doesn't sound super appetizing, but this like really glazy kind of broth, you know, and I like to eat them with a spoon. Like I like them to be a little bit
watery.
A little watery, put a little queso fresco on them.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, black beans all the way.
Oh. So we always ate pinto.
Oh my God, I love it. Yes.
That's so funny. Yeah, and de la olla,
Sí,
right
de la
out of
olla.
the pot. And my mother used to like to put cilantro, little cebollita,
Yes.
and chile.
I used to be afraid of when my mom would make beans because it was really popular at the time in the 90s to use las ollas express.
Oh, yes.
So it was like the pressure cooker.
Oh, uh-huh.
And
Yes.
oh my gosh, the sound it made, I was like,
It's going to explode.
it's going to explode. I remember this one day, my mom and aunt went to the grocery store, so cousins got dropped off at my place, and we had like no supervision. And I must have been the oldest, except I think my cousin Carolina was with us, and she's a year older than me. And my mom left the beans cooking in the olla express,
Uh-huh.
and starts to like build pressure, and
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's like fuming. Oh my gosh. My cousin ran out into the street screaming fire. She was like, fuego, fuego, fuego. We made such a big deal out of it. Neighbors were coming out. It was a whole thing.
Were you with her doing that?
I was like
were you-
petrified. I was like, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to get in worse trouble for if I let the kitchen burn down or if I let my cousin
Or
go
the
out
beans
screaming
burn.
on the street, So I just kind of like, I honestly feel like I stayed paralyzed looking at my cousin out the window, and I was like, I better just sit here. But we certainly got in trouble for false alarm.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many people have come to our country from
Mhm.
other countries. And I used to tell my students, lots of times you'll hear people talk about illegal aliens as if they're going to fly down from the sky.
Yeah.
And I said, words are powerful.
Yeah.
And another way to think of it is undocumented immigrant.
Yeah.
Just undocumented. It's just that paper that you're talking
It's
about.
just a paper.
That's the only thing they don't have.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I have a little smirk at the synchronicity because I used that exact phrase earlier today at work. I said words are powerful
Mhm.
and words hold meaning. And what words we choose to use will dictate how something moves through the world,
Exactly.
how
Mhm.
something can change or grow or stay stunted or whatnot. I was really, a few years ago when I first published Mamacita, I went down to San Jose, California, and I did similar interviews to this, but live for Mamacita at the local libraries there. And I remember feeling a bit shocked because there was a woman in the audience of Asian descent who called me illegal and said, what do you think about other illegal aliens like you?
Mm-hmm.
And I was shocked
Mm-hmm.
because I have a bias
Mhm.
where, and it's a bias built by the sort of messaging that we receive in this country.
Absolutely.
That unless you are, you have white features, which I'm saying this fully aware that I'm white presenting,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? And that like my sister who is a darker skin tone than me will present differently than I present to the world.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
But I was surprised to hear this from someone that has certainly faced similar discriminations solely on the way that they look.
Right.
Because I face discrimination after people hear my accent or after people find out where I'm from. But I don't face discrimination like if I'm walking down the street, whereas she might have. And so the fact that she said, well, how do you feel about other illegal aliens like you? I stopped her and I said, alien is a very harmful word. It puts us in a subcategory to humans. It will make the person saying it and the person hearing it create this gap
Mm-hmm.
between
the
common
divide.
understanding
Mhm.
and divide between this common understanding that we are both people, that we have same organism,
Mhm.
blood,
Mhm.
everything happening in our bodies,
Mhm.
and probably similarities in culture and backgrounds. And I was like, without status, is how we should be referring to migrants who are currently in this country going through transitionary processes. It's just without status. There's nothing illegal about migrating. And alien, I haven't met one
Exactly.
You know, I haven't met one in my lifetime. So
what an excellent answer to
it's
be thrown just suddenly like that and
it was,
to speak the truth.
yeah. It's the only, I mean, it's difficult. It's really easy to get kind of, I think, where we often kind of miss the plot when we're put into situations like that is that it's really easy to get defensive and validate the other side. You know? And so if I were to be asked that question again, I think I would actually probably, instead of giving them an answer, look at the person and say, can you tell me the characteristics of an alien that is like part of your definition and how they apply to immigrants or migrants? Like what are the characteristics? And see what they say. Because a lot of times people haven't actually fully articulated what they're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they need to hear that kind of an explanation, to hear themselves that it doesn't make sense, anything that they said. And they may be very nice people.
Yeah.
But they don't realize, as you said, the power of words.
Yeah.
So are you going to make another book?
You know what? I feel it in my core that there's another book brewing for sure. I've most recently been. Are you familiar with Substack? Have you heard of Substack?
Yes.
I've really enjoyed sharing more creative writing there. And I know that I want to write another book. I know that it'll have food components to it. It might not be a full cookbook in its essence, but something of like a bit of a food memoir in there. And I do want, I mean, food is so important to me. So like recipes will be, I think, embedded in that.
I love that idea. And in fact, I don't know if we already talked about this, but the whole time I was reading your book, I thought, this is a memoir. I mean, this is so much more than a cookbook. I love the introduction.
Yeah.
Just so thoughtfully written. And then all the little stories, you know, you get so much more than just a cookbook, not only just the pictures, but this little
Thank you.
little story that accompanies each recipe. So I can see that for you.
Thank you.
That would be wonderful.
I really feel it in me, and I'm excited for when that's, you know, gonna come out. But I just got to keep writing.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, you said, what are you doing these days?
Yeah, I'm a creative project manager, so that's what I do on my 9 to 5. And my side quest is that I still do food styling and recipe development.
And so, could you explain? What that is?
So, recipe development is similar to what it sounds like, right? You can be another cookbook author, or you can be a restaurant, or you can be even like a corporate entity like Starbucks trying to develop a recipe. And I will help you get it there. I've helped a few like social media food influencers with making sure that the recipes that are putting out that are specifically not of their own culture follow culturally appropriate guidelines for how the dish is made, or introduce enough ingredients to keep the recipe more genuine to the original flavor.
So you have to do a lot of research.
I have to do a lot of research for that, because a lot of the time it's not even my own culture, right? Like I've done it for like Chinese dishes, which like I'm Mexican, so then that means I have to go reach out to my Chinese friends and like ask them like, how do you make this dish? How does your mom make this dish? Would substituting, you know, this sauce for this sauce be appropriate? Whatever, and like in trying to fit it to what the actual goal, like if someone's, you know, making something vegan or making something like gluten-free, but like keeping the original flavor. I really find that challenge really exciting. Food styling is cooking and assembling food for photography or video. So that's really funny, and it's like a chemistry. It feels like science, because sometimes food is not cooked the way that it would be cooked if it was going to be eaten. For example, vegetables. Vegetables will wilt the longer that you cook them. So we undercook them all the time for photography, so they look really nice and fresh and bright, for example.
But you're not talking about putting glue instead of mayonnaise.
That's really
Or-
dramatic. And that most of the time only happens if you're filming like those TV commercials that you see like Pizza Hut.
Right,
You know,
right,
like
right.
that cheese definitely has some
Yeah, that
additives to it.
gooey
So it can
cheese
like
that
be
goes on
pulled
forever.
forever like that. But there's other tricks of the trade that you can use for like real food. But most of the time I'm not playing with glue or anything like that. I have used like Scotch tape on pancakes so then the syrup stays on top and doesn't soak in, right? Because the pancake is gonna like the dough is gonna suck in the
yeah.
syrup. But you want to see the syrup sitting on top. So I have used like Scotch tape for that purpose.
Interesting.
And then my day-to-day job is as a project manager, a creative project manager. It's very similar to a production manager. So I help video productions, web, UX design, development, and primarily like social media or mid-funnel ads go through start to finish. So I'm managing the process of those projects from start to finish.
Oh, your talents are so broad. What did you study? Or did you?
Yeah.
Is this
Funny
this
enough,
inherently?
Enough, I graduated with a design and fashion. And I graduated
Well, you're
from...
dressed, and for the viewers, you can't see how beautiful, beautifully she looks.
Thank you.
Yes.
I went to school here locally at Seattle Central College and graduated from their apparel design and development program. But I graduated and realized that I didn't want to be a fashion designer. And I started going to styling instead, editorial styling for magazines. I had a friend who graduated from the photography program of the same school. And she was the one that was like, I like your wardrobe. Will you like style this photo shoot for me? And that's how I started my career. I started working in photo shoots and then eventually moved from on model to product. So like, maybe even like this like beautiful platter that you brought, like that's the product. So styling that, to set design. So like reimagining spaces to become something else, to food, to eventually going on the other side of the camera and being the producer, being the logistics person and making sure everything is set up for the actual project.
Oh,
yeah.
That is amazing. That is so fabulous that you were able to do so many. There's so many sides of you.
Thank you.
That's fabulous.
Thank you.
So, but you said you're thinking about writing.
Yes, yeah. That's a passion and a love. And
any particular subject matter?
Yes, right now,
besides the food.
Besides food, my Substack is a lot about just culture and personal experience. I'm really interested in this idea of like becoming you, and like being really aware, being really reflective of what is happening internally and how we show up in the world, and how, regardless of what externally is happening or who we're around, what are the ways in which we become us? And like I'm particularly interested in that subject and how it's shown up for my own life. And that's kind of what I'm currently writing about on Substack. But it's funny, I want to be like some friends who are very, they have their writing blocks. But I'm more sporadic where like I'll be reading and then like a topic comes up to mind and I'm like, I have to write about this now.
Oh, good for you. Spontaneous.
Yeah, more spontaneous.
That way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. I look forward to reading whatever you come up with.
Thank you so much. Yes.
So would you say that your grandma, Titita, which I love her name. We used to call my grandma Mema.
Mema, that's a beautiful
Very
one too.
sweet name. So would you say that she inspired you to do all of this?
I definitely think so.
Yeah.
She certainly inspired the book. The cooking, I want to say, was more inspired by my own mother, who cooked for us like my whole life. The book's dedicated to the women in my life, but Titita, this was truly to honor who she is and who she was in raising my mom and being a part of my life. I've never met her with a male counterpart. I never met my grandfather, who died when my mom was 11. So I met this incredible matriarch raising 6 children, raising her grandchildren, and just a powerhouse and I never witnessed her lose her temper.
Isn't that something? Yeah.
Character, presence, you knew when she's in the room, but you could never say anything about Teresa that wasn't good. And I really admire that light. I think I strive to embody who I witness her be my whole life in my own life now.
Yes, absolutely. Is she still on this earth?
She is.
Oh.
Yeah, she is.
Well, you have so many, or maybe all of her characteristics, it sounds like.
I take that full-heartedly, and I hope so. I hope so. She's unaware of the book now because of her Alzheimer's. She doesn't know that it was published or anything like that. I mean, I've told her, but,
right.
She doesn't, with her Alzheimer's, she can't comprehend that. But I'm happy that this is something that will always remain.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to
Honestly,
say?
just gratitude. Again, gratitude for this library, for people listening to support their local libraries. There's so much power in books. We live in a world where we are so sucked into social media and missing out of what is truly valuable. So I would encourage people to, just for today, put down your phone, pick up a book, call this library, look into the directory, find something interesting, pick it by its cover if you must, and just for one day, read before you go to bed. That's how I would like to end this.
Fabulous advice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, and so I wish you the very best of luck, although it's not luck that's getting you through all of this.
Gracias, Margarita.
So much talent and integrity.
Thank you so much.
Gracias.
Gracias. Es un honor. Thank you.
Igualmente.
Mamacita, Recipes Celebrating Life as a Mexican Immigrant in America, is available in the catalog of the Washington Talking Book and Braille Library. You can find it as an audiobook with the class ID DBC 19399. If you have any questions or comments about the library, or to see if you qualify for our services, visit WTBBL.org or leave us a voicemail at 206-615-0400 or toll free at 800-542-0866. This episode of Literary Notes is a production of the Washington Talking Book and Braille Library based in Seattle, Washington. I'm your producer, Nathan Ureta. Thanks for listening. Every story deserves to be heard, and everyone deserves access to it. The Washington Talking Book and Braille Library provides audiobooks, Braille, and reading support for people across the state who can't read standard print. That car, truck, or boat you're not using anymore could help fund those services. Donate your vehicle today. Pickup is free, running or not. Start now at careasy.org/WTBBL.